This podcast is protected under the laws of the United States and other countries. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or exhibition may result in civil liability, criminal prosecution, and the wrath of the tall man.
Boy!
Hey, let's talk about you, the ID10T community events at ID10T.com, like Russ Stevens, a.k.a.
Cat Bus Russ,
who has started a podcast called 90 for Chill, which Russ says is dedicated to movies with a runtime between 74 and 99 minutes, the time frame that I feel is ideal. Russ, I could not agree with you more. That is a fantastic idea. Russ goes on to say there are times you need a cinematic fix but don't have time for the latest Scorsese masterpiece or offering from a comic book universe. There's also times when you need a conclusion to prevent a binge costing you a whole night. My guest and I try to follow these guidelines as we chat up features that are definitely worth your time and are beyond easy to make time for. 90 for Chill, the podcast, can be found on all major podcast platforms at 90forchill.com, and that's spelling out 90, Ninety, 4 FOR, chill. So there you go. Thank you so much for sharing, Russ. Really great idea for a podcast. Events at ID10T.com for everyone else.
Hello there.
Hello, and welcome to this bonus episode of I Dig Crazy Flicks with Cat Bus Russ. I am your host, Cat Bus Russ, and this will be a recap of my experience at the UI Con. It's Champaign-Urbana's Comic-Con, as the website would tell you, but very much an anime convention. So you'll get to hear basically how I hold up with my 3 panels that are movie-centric, especially 80s movie-centric, with a crowd that's there for, well, I'm so out of touch with the anime. Thankfully, there were some great panels I still got to check out. So before we get there, I'm going to throw up a review for a movie that I think Andrew Titi would at least appreciate a watch, called Blast Fighter, from the director of Demons and Demons 2, Lamberto Bava. It's not an Argento script, but it's still fun, so I say if you want to just get to the conversation about UICon, skip to about the 10-minute mark, and enjoy the show henceforth.
Are you Tiger Shark?
You hit him once more, and I swear I'll destroy you. You have no proof. I'm a son of a bitch.
Wants to be left alone.
And don't try just to hit him. Shoot to kill.
I'll take care of that. My brother started it all. Hi, Tig. I'm sorry for what they did.
Me too, Tom. But I always pay my debts.
Why?
There's just no answer to violence.
Look, I know it's all you've been doing for the last 8 years, but think about it. The consequences?
No! No, no! No!
You know what this means? There's only one way you're gonna stop Tiger now. Kill him, or else he's gonna rip us all apart, one by one.
Give me this chance! You said we're all in the same boat. Every one of you could end up with a ticket to the chair.
Who would have thought that I'd get 2 Lamberto Bava features done in 1 week? I just concluded watching Blast Fighter, which had a cool Blu-ray art. I found it at the Disc Replay in Champaign, $10, and it's like, oh, this Lamberto Bava, George Eastman, I think it was, sorry. Like, this is going to be an Italian exploitation and high def, so why not take a gamble on it? And what this feature really is a First Blood knockoff. It's a story about Tiger Sharp, an Atlanta cop who served 8 years for executing the man who murdered his partner and wife. And after deciding not to kill the city councilman, lawyer, whoever who was going to protect that killer, he's going to put his gun away and just move back home in the Georgian countryside, only to find poachers just wounding animals to sell the parts to a Chinese... What would it be? Well, Chinese medicine, basically. Keep them alive so you can get the full potential out of the animal organs. On top of this, his daughter has shown up, and after seeing the rednecks do their thing with the nature, he decides to try at least keeping him in line, and they decide to go in and kill him. So it's just eventually becomes after they accidentally kill a couple of his friends, a no witnesses situation, so they're chasing him through the Georgian mountains. When you know it, though, he has been given a gun that will just has all the capabilities of, say, a lawgiver, essentially. So Rambo with Judge Dredd's gun, essentially. I think so. It kind of doesn't play the Vietnam thing, just basically, hey, rednecks suck, and who can disagree with that? And it does give us higher stakes than Rambo just being a PTSD guy. This is a guy who really has done everything for the right, and most people will agree with that. And now he's going to have to, destroy a town, again, just because it's right. But he does his damnedest to really hold off. So a lot of the film is solely the chase, of him before he gets around to the settling the score situation. So you get a lot more melodrama in this than you do in Rambo, and Bava directs it well enough, but definitely not to the level of, the American directors of the time. This is right after Devilfish for him, so it's good to see a nice rebound there. The score is all right. They got cameos from the banjo kid from Deliverance, all grown up, still looking creepy. So it does a lot for fan service. I think it basically plays to the people who, at that time, who even enjoyed Italian knockoffs, knowing that it's an Italian knockoff. If you're in the mood for a passable feature, some good background noise, and eventually some good violence, you might be entertained by a blast fighter.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hey, Catbus Russ here, and I'm getting over my excitement and frantic nature that was UICon, doing 3 panels in one day. It requires a lot, never mind, it's in my hometown, so if I thought I could do something better, I'm running across town to ensure that I could do it. And I wouldn't be able to do it without Dubby Jitterless Energy Blend. It's a powder energy drink with just enough caffeine to equal a cup of coffee and all the vitamins you need to get you through your day. So from essentially 9 to 11, I'm running around Champaign-Urbana and I'm pulling it off thanks to Dubby. And if you want to experience that, go and visit dubby.gg, and when you go to checkout, use promo code CatBusRuss to save yourself 10% off. But never mind that initial savings, you're going to be saving money anyhow. If you drink energy drinks at work, that's going to end up being an $80 a month habit. Dubby Jitterless Energy, that's going to knock that $80 in half. Dubby.gg, promo code CatBusRuss at checkout, and save yourself money and get all the energy you could possibly need to push through that workday. Thank you, Dubby Energy.
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
Welcome once again to I Dig Crazy Flicks. I'm just chilling out Sunday evening. I needed the entire Saturday to recover, and then it was just punch after punch, a bad date, Liverpool beating up on Newcastle United. So, forgive me for not getting this bonus out sooner. And with that said, I'll be releasing one of the panels from UICon with Andrew Teedy at Couchman Bakes, Baking While Baked. You can find him on episodes about nearly anything John Carpenter, with the exception of They Live, and all the Kevin Smith related and Deadpool related. Yeah, Andrew's been on the show quite a few times, but definitely check him out on Instagram. I know he's getting away from TikTok with the recent politics behind it. So it'll get better explained once we get him on one of the panels. So that is where my head's been at, I suppose. But otherwise, I'm feeling good. And yeah, I think this ended up being a pretty worthwhile experience. It just was very nervous to start, I suppose. So I didn't get to the event till probably about 1 o'clock. So honestly, good time. I could have caught the opening ceremony. That's just something I really don't do, I guess, at conventions, now that I think about it. But for me, honestly, the day was a little stressful. Woke up, realized, oh shoot, something didn't go right with bill paying. I'm not losing any money, but just had to hustle to make sure everything's in the right spot. And then it's getting prepped for the convention, finding my iPad wasn't charged. It felt like Murphy's Law. And then when I arrive, it's kind of surprising that you would have an anime convention. Now, I think at least Andrew and I saw this as a Comic-Con, essentially. And yeah, it definitely was pretty much designed solely for the anime crowd. And I thought it was kind of weird having a convention like this at the end of the month when Peoria has Anime Zap at the beginning of the month. And truthfully, I thought about going to that, trying to submit my panels there. At least with Anime Zap, it says anime in its convention name. So, and I was actually kind of turned off by when I was going through the application process for Anime Zap, when they said, oh, you have to pay and you have to commit to you have to pay as a commitment that you're going to show up, regardless if we choose your panel or not. And I think this was the same rules, but this is Champaign-Urbana, and as I said, it seemed like a Comic-Con, so yeah, I took the plunge. And then I arrive, and all the artwork is anime themed. And I think the primary reason why they weren't afraid to have a convention in the same month, only 90 miles away, because of the Asian population at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. I would say we probably have a larger Chinese population than Chinatown right now in Champaign-Urbana. And I think Chinatown in Chicago is probably, at least I've read stats saying 50,000. I don't buy it unless they are really going for that authentic living on top of each other experience. Sorry if I'm stereotyping with that one. But, I am always curious, I guess. So it was I guess I brought it up after a panel that, I'll get to it, I suppose. So Andrew showed up after 2 p.m., closer to 3. So I was able to watch a couple of panels in the room beforehand, and honestly, they were very interesting. They were hosted by the Off the Balcony group. I think they're local. Haven't researched it too much. I'm sorry, guys. They did a great job, and they let me, since they had 3 panels in a row in that room before mine was going on at 4, the 90 for Chill panel, They let me keep my stuff in there instead of me running back and forth to my car. And of course, the weather right now in central Illinois, 15 degrees or so at the high point. And I didn't want to walk around in my leather jacket, so lots of sprinting, and now I realize after I go and tell you how to get to the talk about UICon, if you didn't want to listen to the review for Blast Fighter, that I should have attached the ad at the end of the of when I told you where to skip. But I will catch on to that, I suppose. But of course, if you want to avoid ads on I Dig Crazy Flicks, and I know I don't have that many yet, but I'm looking for it. I've been doing a bunch of job interviews, and it's like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Ideally, living off that Blue Chew and manscaping money, ad money. But, just really looking for security is how I answer it. Like, I'm just going to keep pushing forward with my life. Which, that goes back to why I did my best to stick with that date I was with. It was red flag after red flag last night. No driver's license. Okay. Mentions all her isms ahead of time. All right, cool. And then I pick her up, and it's like gives me a little geo. Oh, thank you. Well, most people act more appreciative. Like, brought candy. It's like, okay. And then it's just every step of the way it was like something new, and she wouldn't shut the hell up. So I don't think I'm that bad. I always think I might be talking too much. I don't think she thought about that. So if she checked out I Dig Crazy Flicks, hey, I'm sorry, at least I'm not dropping your name and the further details on how that all got messed up. But that's not the place neither here nor there, I suppose. I've just brought it up because we had something was brought up about lobotomies, and it's like, I had to go and ask. But I guess I can transition to the first panel, which was dedicated to Lost Media. And it was more than just anime, but of course, they focus a lot on cartoons for the most part. But we did get to see weird stuff, like a group that created a Lego recreation of a classic Subway ad. They just would quote to each other back in the day, but the ad was lost until like 2022. So that was fun, seeing stuff like that, like the attempts to integrate video games and music on MTV2. Very weird seeing I remember on MTV2, I'd say circa 2004, 2005, they had a video show where they would use the sprites and have them choreograph properly to, say, like the Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith video game, to Franz Ferdinand Take Me Out, or just any random sprite they could to do Let's Get It Started by Black Eyed Peas. This was not of that quality. They showed just people playing all the small things from Blink 182 over very limited SpongeBob graphics from a game, and not syncing it up or anything like that. So it's that was there. The English attempt to do Doraemon, which kind of reminds me of Cartoon Sushi, which I wasn't able to bring up at the end of the panel because they were asking about what Lost Media do you have, and they were fascinated when I brought up the Ralph Bakshi animated show from Cinemax circa 1997, I believe, called Spicy City. I watched a little bit of it. I didn't go out of my way to watch every episode, make time for it. This is before DVR. So I blame myself for it not being as successful as I think it should have been. It's Ralph Bakshi, and I think that was pretty much his last project after Cool World. So if you know where to find it, I haven't checked the Internet Archives yet. But hey, thank you, Nick's Eclipse from the Cinema Shit Show, for really showing how important that is. I guess I could also thank Bo and company at the Collateral Cinema. They did an excellent 100th episode they had was about The Room, and that's how you can really watch it unless you're going to go to the trouble of buying the disc directly from Tommy Wiseau. So the Lost Media panel was fun. Again, get to see other weird things like, they lost the episode of Sesame Street where Snuffleupagus' parents were getting a divorce, and what the hell is going on with Big Bird's head for that one? Is he just trying to recreate his own trauma? So that's what I brought up. I was like, if there were dead air, I might consider jumping in with a comment, being a wise ass. So that just means keep talking, make it about yourselves. Yeah, we're here for the product, but, you're trying to sell yourselves to sell something, to sell your YouTube channel. Again, these gentlemen and lasses were the Off the Balcony group. I only say I think they were local because one of the guys had a button for Iron Spirit Wrestling or Iron Spirit Pro Wrestling out of Bloomington. I've caught one of their shows over in Urbana just before the pandemic. They get a lot of the Black and the Brave talent, so yeah, they've got a lot of talent. I think probably smoother matches than what the Fan Expo Wrestling was. Sorry to throw them under the bus. I did talk to Andrew, though, about the wrestling at cons. I really think Cat Bus Russ is a great idea. I Dig Crazy Flick LLC is associated with that, in case anybody wanted to steal that. But it was basically just me wrestling. I kind of already have the gimmick prepared. Again, it's just trying to talk a promoter into letting a 46-year-old who hasn't taken a bump. Geez, in 11 years, I always have my gear in my car. I'm always ready to go. But, I don't have to take any face bumps because cats... I don't have to take any back bumps because cats always land on their feet. And I figure once I take 9 bumps, the cat is dead. So it makes itself. I just have to act cute otherwise. And I think that's at least what I do well. Awkward, maybe, but I think there's a degree of cuteness to it. So, so that was the first panel I got to see, and that was, as I say, Found Media. And then the second media panel was hosted again by Off the Balcony. And then the third one, but that they actually got into an anime topic of something I've never seen. And it showed my age, and thankfully, I wasn't the oldest person in the room. So they asked, it's a pretty common panel, I guess you'd say, subs versus dubs, preference, what have you. And, generally it's like, well, there's reasons to enjoy both, I suppose. But I brought up the stories like these kids did not realize, no, back in the day, you just have to go and, I'm a dub person because I'd have to go and mow a lawn to get my anime fix, which is usually just 1 hour on a VHS tape at $25 dubbed, $30 subbed. That kind of surprised them. And where would you get these? And then I realized, oh yeah, we've got, going back to Fan Expo New Orleans with the wrestlers ripping off gimmicks from ECW, because there's people now born after ECW who will, and thank you WWE with screwing us out of the network for your corporate deals that you're going to keep bouncing the library around. There's no reason to think about ECW. So you can do this Simon Diamond gimmick and just call it Simon Says and rip off every note from it, and nobody's going to know. So nobody really knew of Suncoast. I said Suncoast. I remember Coconuts, at least in Peoria. I can't remember what the store, like Capitol Tower, record shops, because the somebody sitting in the crowd for the panel was, and I'm sorry I didn't get to your panels, Mr. Fleming, but David Fleming, who's a subtitler and has written scripts for OVAs and stuff, and he's made it the shows he's worked on have been shown on Cartoon Network, so he had interesting things to say about how he's credited some places, how he's not credited other places. Streaming doesn't like to list the translators, so it's kind of like, oh gee, there's still a lot of BS where creative people are getting shagged. But David Fleming, veteran translator and subtitler, who he's been in the business for 30 years. So I was in high school looking for tapes. He was the guy making the tapes, and he's a really interesting guy. And the best thing about this, though, he decided to pretty much while we're all talking, he grabbed his Laserdisc collection and pretty much went and showed all this stuff he's working on translating, explaining how Laserdisc is actually analog technology. He kind of stole the show, and I tried my best to hang with him, which listen to the Revenge of the Sith panel from ATL Comic Convention, and maybe I come off as a little bit of a twat there. But no, very cool there, and it was fun where they by the end, and they were running a little late. Closing the panel, and not to say they finished late, they were just we can't really invite the audience to participate any further. So, but again, off the balcony, they are very cool guys and girls. Give their YouTube channel a go. And, it was so I talked to him, and I think that's where I brought up after their panel, after their panel, I had to run off and, formally introduce myself to Mr. Fleming, and then get Andrew his credentials for the convention. So I must have asked it I asked it at some point. They were talking about back in the Lost Media how an issue of Blackjack, I think it was written by Osamu Tenzu. Sorry if I'm screwing that up. I will check IMDb while I'm going on. But he had to remove an issue of Blackjack. I've seen the OVA, one of the OVAs of it. Adaptations, I should say. And about a surgeon who works off the grid. Let me get there. Blackjack. All right, we'll go with the 1993. I'll at least get the writer's name. Yes, Osamu Tezuka. Sorry. He is the godfather of anime, essentially. He's wrote Astro Boy, so that's the big one. And but the issue he had to pull was about he had to pull one issue because of suggesting that we can come up with the technology for children to speak with their comatose parents through some kind of brain transfer device. Another issue he had to cut was one he wrote about involving lobotomies, and it was a anti-lobotomy thing, and that's when I brought up, and that's how we got back from the date story, when she I told her, you actually shouldn't be no, I can think the way I want. He's anti-lobotomy, and I'm thinking, I told him up front, I don't want to play the stereotype game, but I would imagine the Japanese were a lot, how they've had a history of just writing off their lesser able. They were kind of pro lobotomy, and they were like, you might be right. So at least I'm not totally off base. So yeah, I pretty much spent an hour with Andrew just perusing the floor, and nothing crazy on the floor, I guess you would say. Obviously, there's no reason for Ultra Sabers, or I think Turtle could have probably had an influence, but yeah, otherwise not. It was a lot of fan-made necklaces, stickers, patches, and there was some cool stuff. I didn't pick up anything myself, but Andrew covered us. There's somebody who had these cool little menu, recipe cards you could get. And something I will say, I think the more anime you get in a convention, the more LGBTQ friendly it becomes. And I give him also credit coming up with a lot of anti-ice stuff. So I'm surprised, it was an interesting day in Champaign-Urbana because I knew there was a student walkout in protest of ice. And I can't really say it affected the convention, at least as far as I could tell. I think they'll probably try to do it on a weekend, Saturday, Sunday. I think that's how they've usually done it. I'll get to that, why and such. But, so you could avoid upsetting the university, I suppose, is a good reason to do it on a Saturday and Sunday. So, yeah, so Andrew and I started off with the 90 for Chill, the panel. And we had basically a bunch of staff like, oh, come on, this is sad. They're just doing this on their own. And then, we're explaining, hey, we're just having a conversation. We got our microphones out. We're just, we're at least entertaining ourselves. And, it was very much on Andrew saying, I don't think the punch and pie is working. And I guess in that case, it's the first time the punch and pie hasn't worked. But it was, people, eventually staff would walk in like, well, we don't have anything to do, and this seems interesting. So, yeah, they were very cool, but they were basically saying, like, yeah, nobody's really, you can't really expect a lot of people on a Friday to come to, during the school year to come to a panel and such. So they appreciated the effort, and, yeah, I guess that's the big thing is they were very supportive of us doing a non-anime thing. And, yeah, it was so Andrew and I were having fun entertaining ourselves. He's a stand-up comedian. I'm a professional wrestler. We've all performed in front of crowds of one ourselves. And, I say I've performed in virtually nothing. It's like, it's like practice. Like, I was the king of practice matches. And, then I guess I shit the bed when we, like, all right, let's run that practice match on the show the next night. Okay, we'll try to recapture that magic. And I think that's essentially how I broke my wrist and lost my chance to be the two-time light heavyweight champion in Next Generation Wrestling. And that probably... Oh, what I wanted to do with the light heavyweight division, and you could read something like that about my blogs, my wrestling blogs on maineventofthedead.com, is, like, I think junior heavyweight wrestling should be held at the same level as the heavyweights. And it's kind of, like, weird as I'm writing this history of the tertiary championships without any vacancies. And, like, start with the NWA TV Championship, just to fill in. I went with the AWA, essentially Memphis's Southern Championship, and then like I ended up going to New Japan with the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, which is always like, until the 90s essentially, it was the number 2 title, but it was an entire separate division, so they're always going to push heavyweight matches ahead of it. And as far as I've watched New Japan since 2015, Wrestle Kingdom 9, it's Kenny Omega versus Ryusuke Taguchi was under Shinsuke Nakamura and Kota Ibushi for the IC Championship, which is, of course, under the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, Tanahashi and Okada. So, man, that's kind of a weird rant on there. Now I have lost the plot. So, something about my wrestling. And, well, I was talking about the merchandising. I was just talking about how, I went on that rant, and sorry for that, just because of my, we performed pretty much just for whatever staff wanted to walk in and, hey, what's going on here? So, that was our 4 o'clock panel. We were on the floor for looking around for 3 o'clock. Eventually, my good friend, she and I, as I said, introduced her a few times, despite she wanted to keep to herself. Ally Higgins, as I say, essentially a producer on the show for all the movies she's bought for me to watch back for the 90 for Chill concept. Was there, hung out with her. She told me about Zootopia 2, which, I told her, sorry, CM Punk's involved. I don't give a shit about it. Sorry. I gotta do that. And it's always, and I think Andrew and I may have mentioned, the fact that we changed the name of the show because of CM Punk and the I Dig Crazy Flicks shirt. So, I got to hang out with her, get a little better look at the stuff, because she likes to make her crafts, and I was suggesting, hey, you could probably do this show, and I kind of Christian themed my stuff, and it's like, well, it's just a place to have your stuff, and I imagine the tables can't be too expensive, because there are a lot of people, and actually, Allie could spot a few vendors. Like, there was somebody who had a Build-A-Bear fluff machine made and things to stuff, and I don't know why we don't see that at major conventions. I mean, you could add another $10 to your overpriced Bulbasaur, and I'd probably be game if I'm in a right mood. So so I hung out with her while Andrew was trying to find something to eat. I told him, well, I used to work at the I Hotel, so, because this was at the Illinois Conference Center, attached to the I Hotel. The conference center is ran by the University, the I Hotel, by a conservative asshole. A biker for Trump. I don't think this guy, he probably was riding a trike back in 2016 when I was working for him. He's pretty much, I helped move Jimmy John's here, and I don't even know where corporate is now after they got bought out by somebody. So, yeah, he's not worth anything. Lives out in North Carolina primarily. Okay. I did write a blog once before AEW made its debut in Champaign. No, stay at the Hyatt. I Hotel sucks, walls are thin. There was a fight one night that I was involved in breaking up. I got punched a few times. And it's geez, these guys aren't hitting worth crap. But one of them nearly got driven through drywall into a room. So it's one of those, when the cops were there, they said, You shouldn't have actually tried stopping this. And same thing with my GM, the GM. I think he goes by the president. The GM, like, dude, just blow it off. Like, if you didn't try getting involved, they probably would have gone through rooms. So, yeah, full circle though. Convention, I get to do a convention at the job I moved down here for. So, anyway, we didn't come back on till 8 o'clock, and that was the Rad Movies or Bad Movies. And I think maybe it's solely the title that sold that, because we had a pretty much packed room. Not as much punch and pie consumption as I thought, but, meaning I'm probably on the verge of diabetic shock over the last... So again, more reason wasn't feeling well yesterday, I suppose, from eating so many of those. And essentially that was my only thing I was eating at the convention. I wasn't going to, again, work the I Hotel. I had to shut down hula hands every night back in the day. Yeah. And I really wish I would have gone and said, hey, anybody staying at the I Hotel? Go to bed. Because, no, we don't, it's just pain on the night auditors. I didn't stick around to see who the night auditors were. Thankfully, Ally figured her way around the building to get to her car. She was parked at the Hula Hands lot. And, so I didn't have to go back through there and possibly run into some old faces who might feel abandoned when I took a pay cut to get out of there. And I don't know. That's a hindsight thing. I really should just push part-time. But you don't want to work night audit there because the walls are so thin. You're going to be doing noise complaints all night. And when you do noise complaints, likely the people who I'm telling to shut up are drunk. So they're telling me to, I've paid $180 for this room. Yeah, so... but the 1986 Rad or Bad Movies panel went over like gangbusters, I think. So... As I say, I think just saying rad or bad is what sold it. And, it may have just been the time slot. The night wasn't closing. The show closes at 11. So the floor closed at 8. So maybe it's just people looking for something to do and they didn't want to go to the rave. We did check out the rave and we found out Andrew had Crocs, or probably knockoff Crocs, but regardless... They were Christmas themed, and the lights worked on it when you tap your feet and what have you. And Andrew, I think the movie we were talking about at one point, because I was trying to sell you on Caught Up, was Frighteners, because of the entire Jeffrey Combs element. So, just something for you to think if you're listening to this. I'll message you. I know he wants, we had so much fun, he wants to do the show more, is at least what he's told me. Instead of just being polite. But, it was so the 80 panel worked. He did a lot more note taking. He had the stats, the finances, and he was pretty much on the same page. The only thing we kind of slipped up on was we should have compared Big Trouble in Little China, The Golden Job. I don't think it's that similar. And I have to find out the studios, what have you, but, a chance to talk about Jack Burton is one that we should take. And, of course, we did a lot of that, I think, back in the 90 for Chill panel, trying to sell the idea of that. And thank you, Andrew, for immediately taking the counterpoint. You can't cut the Lord of the Rings down. And, we got into another Bashki argument. So I guess we kept it animated related. So I should try to focus on Ralph Bashki at some point. A lot more homework. And I did bring up during the Lost Media panel from the Off the Balcony group. One of them was big fan of Bashki. It's not safe for work. Oh, yeah, no, when a title is a racial slur. Yeah, But no, so the 86 panel was a lot of fun, great audience. Then we were off for 9 o'clock. That's when we checked out the rave. And yeah, honestly, the tunes are great. I feel bad because Ally and I, we dated for 4 years. And, I get in there. It's like, we went to a wedding once in D.C. And, like, she wanted to get on the floor. I was sick with the flu. And, like, the one time I didn't get my flu vaccine since I have gotten nieces and nephews. And it was her niece that had a bug, and I probably caught it that when we stopped for Wild Wings in Columbus. But they're playing all these country songs because her family's from Tuscola, and I shouldn't pick on Tuscola. Downstate is definitely not Chicagoland. But, all these songs, and it's like, come on, let's dance. It's like, I can't dance to this stuff. You gotta give me an uns. So, I wish I was not practicing. I shouldn't say that. I like to get a little nuts, I suppose, and probably a good thing I wasn't jumping around and such because of my don't want to get sweaty and worn out before my panel. I have my last panel that night. So, but, the tunes were good. Anime with a uns. Like, yeah, I can get into that. So, I don't know. Maybe deep down I'm a Cotton Eye Joe fan. It's featured on Stuart Gordon's classic Space Truckers. But maybe anything will work with an uns. I don't know. The DJ's got to be good, and they had a good DJ. That I will say at the rave, anime themed rave. And then we went into 1985, the action triple threat match, and this is the best structured that I've had it. And Andrew, again, great guy to feed off of. And I got to sneak in some run-ins, like, we determined Bridget Nielsen works are disqualified from 1985 at the very least. And great conversation about Iron Eagle back in the 86 panel. It's very tempting. I'd like to drop the 86 panel on Thursday, February 4th, I believe. Oh, I guess it'd be the 5th. Yeah. On February 5th, because it's a new panel. But, I think it's good to just establish every month the idea of 90 for chill. So, because that's what this podcast is originally about. I found my niche. And then I found a cool name. And I like to tell people I've got the branding down for I Dig Crazy Flicks. Like, who doesn't want to... Who would reject wearing a button? Stuck up people. But, who would, why wouldn't you wear a button that says, I Dig Crazy Flicks at a Comic-Con? So, and I guess I could say it's a neurospicy world. So, yeah, some people you just doesn't work. And, I hate the frickin' rappers for the kids hustling us outside these conventions. I don't want to say fuck off, but it's, as I say, in Indiana, after these guys took me and Greg for $100, cops had 2 of them arrested shortly after, so yeah, it ain't legit. And offended a guy in Des Moines. Like, I do the music for this convention, and like I do it for the kids. Like, can you? Here's the QR code. Can you give me something for my trouble? No, I won't. And yeah, you just don't want to. You don't want to shut them down, but it's honestly, I just gotta think of them like I think of people at my day job. the moment they just, like, I'd like to return this. All right, can I get your phone number? Yes, and this is what's going... No, I didn't ask for that. This is a transaction. Be transactional. Don't try to, like, beg for me. Play on my guilt. Screw those kids. We do that all the time at my day job. All the donations and stuff they put on the pad. But 1985 panel also worked out because we had the staff again coming in. Like, how many of them are actually there for anime? How many, are, did they get animated out? Or are they just trying to see what this is all about? Why did we give these guys a chance? So, I really appreciated them, and they were a great audience. As we discover the true winner of 1985, or the reason why movies stink right now, is a lack of the white stuff. And, was fentanyl a conspiracy by independent filmmakers? Are they bringing it in so the Bolivian booger sugar is too dangerous to partake in? Just something. So, but, the crew at UICon who were running things, it was a little awkward getting checked in, not really knowing where I'm supposed to be. Like, I'm a panelist, I've paid, just write me off, alright? Because I think that may have happened at GalaxyCon St. Louis, hence why I wasn't at GalaxyCon Columbus. Was like, maybe I misread the emails, what have you, but I was there, I did my panels, so I'm sorry for the confusion, but I digress. So it was a fun time, and I'm really happy how it turned out. Again, it was an anime convention we were at, essentially, and I think we were successful enough that I'm gonna try doing it again next year, and maybe I will try to go into the world of Carl Masek, which I kept popping up like during dubbing questions and what have you. Streamline pictures. Yeah, reach out the Noel Thingvall, I guess. And I know that's a long drive for him, but hey, I put in 7-hour drives. So yeah, it was as I say, worthwhile experience. And if you're an anime fan, I mean, the community is great. Now, I will also say it was anime to the point where I didn't have to worry about K-pop Demon Hunters being played over the speakers all the time. And the moment I was walking with Ally, I think between our panels, the last two panels, there was karaoke going on in the room, and I'm like, it's just great that it's anime based, so I don't have to hear any K-pop Demon Hunters, and then some girl is belting out Golden. And then Andrew walks up, it's about time you heard that, right? So, yeah, I kind of willed that into the world, darn demons. He did find his wife some derpy tiger stuff too, so you either love it or you like... I've heard a lot of people, like myself, music's fine, story, they just don't land the plane. You can check that out on the podcast and the feed about Big Trouble in Little China that I did with Andrew Teedy. So I think that sums up UICon. Yes, I was only there a day, and I think they need a lot more, honestly. I think they need a lot more panelists popping up. I think it was cool that they took, like, breaks, but, it was really kind of, do I rush out for Saturday? As I said, there was the Royal Rumble, which I didn't get around to watching, but Newcastle versus Liverpool. Of course, I'm going to stick around and pay more attention to that. That's me. But, Saturday. So they got a lot of fun concerts, I would say, in the main room. And they do have and that's where Mr. Fleming was doing his. David Fleming was doing his panels in the main stage. And I would say, but otherwise, Saturday panel room 1 cosplay. So honestly, they did a good job. Honestly, scheduling it was just like what the primary audience was there for. So, and I would say that would be the same in. Well, they didn't have a lot of stuff going on in the panel room too. So yeah, they definitely need. If you want to, I'm just gonna tell you, if you want a place to platform to promote something nerdy related, UICon looks like a great place to do that. And hey, if you guys come along, who aren't big in anime, I think we can kind of revolutionize this. As I say, the staff is great and very respectful, and they want everybody to succeed. So I would definitely recommend checking out the UICon at if you get a chance. So I didn't do the research to find out when 2027's is, but I'll be there, or I'll be applying. I guess I'll be there because I am gonna have to pay the money to get there. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. So thank you for sticking around about this trip to UICon in Urbana, Illinois. I'm sorry, in Champaign, technically. University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. I'm still debating, but I will have one of our panels from the event on Thursday. That'll be February 5th, as an episode. So, I personally, as long as I trick all the podcast apps to make sure they know I'm doing once a week, I'm happy. Let me get through the formalities then. If you want to really help the podcast out, rate and subscribe on your favorite podcast apps. 5-star reviews preferably. Be as honest as you'd like to be in the comments. I will read them and I will learn from them. I will be a better podcaster. I will realize the trolls. All right. You can also join my Patreon. That's patreon.com/IDigCrazyFlix. Right now, I'm only looking for $3 a month, but that'll get you ad-free podcast. That'll get you a magnet or waterproof sticker, and access to the original 90forchill.com, the podcast feed, so you can see how I've grown and matured as a podcaster. And I always say see, you can hear, I should say. And you'll get a shout out for every episode as long as you're subscribed. So thank you very much, Tim Bates. You can find him on episodes about Night of the Demons from 1988 and Bloodsport in Space Arena from 1989. Another one that Andrew was intrigued by. Also sold him on Ninja Through the Domination. I've written a review for that. That I'll have to get that moved over to I Dig Crazy Flicks. It's currently on 90forchill.blogspot.com. So, but, if you don't want to give the money to me, think about Ava the Queen Kitty. That's 3 tins of cat food. So, and I'm sorry. Thank you, The Scoop Staley, an underappreciated wrestling talent from the Chicago scene, and the Nazis. And thank you, Dad. But, Ava the Queen Kitty, she keeps me going. So 3 tins of cat food keeps her going. So greatly appreciated, regardless of your motive. But I will say respect royalty. Respect the Queen Kitty. Honestly, I still think the best way to help the podcast out is to come on the show. Offer me a movie, a theme, a director, an actor, as long as it is either or both, but I digress. If the topic is off the wall, the movie, the theme, the director, the actor, yes, I'll be happy to talk about it. But, if it's something a little more down to earth, like most Kevin Smith stuff, just an example, Richard Linklater, as long as it's between 70 and 100 minutes, you don't have to credits don't count on the end credits don't count on against it, I'll be happy to give you at least 40 minutes on Zoom. So send an email to russthebus07@gmail.com. That's RUSSTHEBUS07@gmail.com with those suggestions. Or you can follow me on my social media. That's at CatBusRuss on Blue Sky primarily. But I am also available on on Instagram and Threads. I'm just not a very big Meta fan. So maybe it's the bitter website designer, or it is because all the garbage they put up on their feeds now. Instagram's unusable, my opinion. So, with all that said, let me take the time to thank Station Marie Harden for keeping an eye on me, keeping me out of too much trouble. And I hope she's doing the same for everybody else she touched in her life. And I hope she's squeezing the ectoplasm out of the most jellicle of kittens, Skimbleshanks the one-eared angel. So, thank you for checking out I Dig Crazy Flicks. The next con I'm going to be at, I'm kind of February pretty dead. But I am going to be at B-Fest. Hopefully I'll be sponsoring, once again, A Wizard of Space and Time and Plan 9 from Outer Space. Thank you very much, Northwestern, for even considering giving me the opportunity to do so. So nothing finalized, but hey, at least we're talking. So B-Fest, that's going to be March 6th and 7th. In Evanston at Northwestern. Alright, so thanks for checking out I Dig Crazy Flicks, and I hope you'll be back for Thursday's episode, and I hope you have yourselves a good week and a good Black History Month. Dang it, and now I just think we should have held off on Caught Up for 1 week. Hindsight.
Can I hear a wahoo?
This podcast was made possible by the love and support of Dave and Cindy Stevens, Rory Stevens and Allison Higgins, Danny Daniels, and Stephanie Smith.
Long live Flash! You've saved your Earth. Have a nice day.